The California exodus of big corporations and their headquarters out of California to Texas continues. This time round, a huge hitter with Chevron. Chevron is out of there. Let's talk about it. Here we go. So if you haven't been following kind of this whole phenomenon of just everybody and their mother leaving California, and then Governor Gavin Newsom saying, yeah, but there's plenty of opportunity here. The benefits far outweigh the negatives. Yeah, we're working on the homeless thing. I mean, just the whole dynamic you've got going on here. You have had, so now we've got Chevron. We have recently had, I mean, just some huge, we got Oracle, X, just basically Twitter, just basically said, yep, we're going. You've got one company after another just saying, nope, we got to go. Chevron was not unlike the others in stating that they didn't really give a reason, but they're out of there nonetheless, right? They're out of there nonetheless. Let's get into the story here. Chevron Corporation on Friday announced it's relocating the company's headquarters from San Ramon, California to Houston, Texas, the latest in a string of companies to leave the Golden State. Is this shocking to anybody? No, it's not. What's interesting is to try and see the spin of, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, headquarters get moved all the time. Yeah. Always away from California and always to Texas or Florida or something like that. In a news release, the company announced that Chevron chairman and CEO Mike Wirth and vice chairman Mark Nelson will move to Houston before the end of 2024 to co-locate with other senior leaders and enable better collaboration and engagement with executives, employees, and business partners. This has been the sell. This has been the spin, which is they're not moving. They're not up and moving and leaving the state. They are co-locating with a portion of the business that is already there in Texas. So not really leaving. They're just joining. That's the spin, right? Chevron said it already had roughly 7,000 employees in the Houston area and around 2,000 at its current headquarters in San Ramon, California. They're going to leave a skeleton crew in California. You know, a two-man office suite with one person in it. I don't know. Company said it expects all corporate functions to migrate to Houston over the next 5 years. Positions in support of the company's California operations will remain in San Ramon, just not very many, and everybody else is co-locating elsewhere. They have been, you know, the whole growth of California, a lot of that original growth was based on oil. It was based on oil. And then they've gone down this, electric cars are the greatest thing ever. Let's reduce our carbon, whatever. My voice is thrashed because I just spent basically 4 days on Lake Washington in my boat, 3 of them at Seafair, yelling over hydroplanes, unlimited hydroplanes, helicopters going overhead, big diesel boats, things that typically run on fossil fuels. So there's that, right? Even in Seattle, you got a lot of people that are like, you know what? We're going to be using fossil fuels for a long, long time. And the big joke was, well, I mean, that was mainly a carbon-friendly Blue Angels run that just went past us, right? I mean, that was mainly carbon-friendly. I mean, you know, I gave off like 2 tons of CO2, right? Don't know. I mean, Blue Angels have to be one of the biggest consumers of just high consumption because they burn how many thousands of, you know, gallons of fuel an hour. I don't know. It's insane, right? It's insane. So Chevron, after 145 years in California, is relocating to Texas, a milestone in oil's long decline in the state. California's just gone down this, you know, virtue signaling. We're going to be off gas for, you know, in the immediate future. We only got 10 years left and we'll be. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay. Before we read that one, look at this one. This one's funny. Welcome home, Chevron. This is from Greg Abbott of Texas, governor of Texas. Welcome home, Chevron. Texas is your true home. Drill, baby, drill. I think that's so funny. I mean, it's just kind of a big, you know what? Come on back to Texas. We'll make you right at home here. And don't worry about that ridiculousness in California. How anybody stays in California that is in the energy industry, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. With the announcement Friday that it was moving its headquarters from California to Texas, Chevron Corporation became perhaps one of the last dinosaurs to slip into the tar pit. Just bloop, bloop, bloop. A symbol of California's monumental transition from a manufacturing production state to the brave new world of services. In the popular imagination, California has long been seen as Hollywood, sunshine, and beaches that attracted millions of new residents and built its sprawling cities. But in reality, the great magnet of growth for decades was the production of things, think the aerospace industry, petroleum, and agriculture. I mean, I always think of agriculture because I'm a Washington State, born and raised. And we got all of our stuff out of California because their grow season was so much earlier than ours. Our grow season in Washington State is literally about 60 hours long, I'm convinced. And then it just goes to super hot and then boop, done. It's fall. You're not growing anything. But California, it's got that weather, right? It's got that weather. And so much over the years, it has been, it's been energy. It's been fossil fuel energy. And now we're trying to go down this road of, we're all getting off to, carbon emissions and we're taking I don't mind some of that, but, if you can work that into your regularly scheduled program of pumping gasoline and, watching the Blue Angels, whatever. If you want to get an electric lawnmower, okay. Only because it's easier. Putting a battery in, boop, is easier than the whole, gasoline and oil shenanigans, right? But I know a lot of you out there are diehard on your gasoline engine lawnmowers because I hear that. I run an electric lawnmower only out of pure ease because just dicking around with the gasoline and got to run to the gas station and all that crap. I've got enough gas run vehicles. And if I can simplify my life there and take out that battery and put it in the charger and pat myself on the back that I'm doing great things for the environment, then that's what we're doing. I don't pat myself on the back. I'm just like, I did that because it's simpler. It's just simpler, right? It's easier. So Chevron, the whole energy thing, and then you've got the whole regulation thing. And then, it's no wonder that all these companies are leaving because California is literally pushing them out. But then at the same time, California's leadership is saying, Chevron's not a big loss. I mean, look at the direction that they're heading. They're still on that fossil fuels deal. You know what I mean? California literally sued Chevron for not disclosing things appropriately. They sued Chevron. So then when you're shocked that they take a leave and say, no, we're going to go to Texas. Because with a greeting like what they're getting from Greg Abbott, I mean, can you blame them? No, you can't blame them at all. Away they go. And they are literally just, one in a long list of major corporations that all do the same thing, which is they move the vast majority of people out. They leave enough where they've got a presence. And then they say, you know what? We've already got so many people in Texas or wherever it is that we're just consolidating. And it's been interesting to see how many of the companies state that we're going to Texas because it's located in the Southwest. It's somewhat middle of the country, right? It's always been there. California's always been West Coast. None of these things change, but it's that perception of it's going to be so much better in Texas. And that's that whole notion of, they are conducive to business, whereas California back in the day used to be conducive to business until they went down these crazy train roads. Now they're just trying to get a handle on homelessness. I mean, you've got an executive order from the governor saying, clear it out. San Francisco, they're just going ham on clearing out the homeless. It's not going to work. It's not going to go anywhere because those people are still going to be homeless at the end of the day. And a lot of them are still going to be whacked down on drugs at the end of the day. So, this whole notion of, well, if you just sweep the encampments, it's all good. And then at the same time, Governor Newsom, he's duking it out with the district attorney of Alameda County, Pamela Price, and he's basically throwing additional prosecuting attorneys to that county. He's basically telling them he's sending National Guard attorneys so that they can prosecute more crime because they've had a doubling of violent crime in the last year. Just boop. Oakland has spiked incredibly. So you've got this, you throw those kind of issues on top of bipping and all sorts of other things. But the vast majority of what we're talking about here is just you're not enticing big corporations in California. California does not have that ability. You do not have affordable housing. You've got a state income tax. You've got massive regulation. You've got an anti-energy stance. You've got so many things that work against California that why wouldn't Chevron move their headquarters and pay, taxes to another tax base elsewhere that literally welcomes them by saying, drill, baby, drill. I mean, could you imagine if somebody with a blue check mark with Democrat in front of their name said drill, baby, drill? Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just not happening, is it? It's just not happening. So how many other companies will we see leave California before this little run is over? Probably a bunch. What you've got going on in California is you've got AI in San Francisco is kind of starting to bubble up, and you've got so much industry that's in California. They're going to be fine. Their numbers are going to drop. Yeah, their numbers are going to drop, but they're not going away. It's not like they're circling the toilet bowl. A lot of people want to say that. A lot of people say, oh, they're dead. Just leave now. But all the business that's already here, you are seeing kind of the cream of the crop take, issue and go. A lot of the other companies will stay. They'll just do their thing. We'll talk about how crappy California is. And, same thing, say that on a micro level about Seattle. It's terrible. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I was there 20 years and I left. And now we keep talking about how crappy it is. It's this cycle of just craziness going on. But lately, the cycle has been, what's the next big company that's going to take that exit stage left and just boop, gone? I mean, you're talking Fortune 500 companies, right? Just up and leaving fairly consistently. Hewlett Packard, X, Oracle, Chevron. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And it makes absolute sense. The move is part of a long, steady exodus of not only Chevron's operations, but also the larger petroleum industry from California, which in its heyday, early last century, produced more than 1/5 of the world's total oil. 20% of the world's total oil came out of California, and you still got a lot of oil in the ground in California, but it ain't going anywhere, right? Because they're just not really pro how you're going to need to get that stuff out. Well, California remains the 7th largest producer of oil among the 50 states. Its production of crude has been sliding since the mid-1980s and is now down to only about 2% of the U.S. total. It's according to the latest U.S. Energy. The downshift reflects just how far the state has staked its fortunes away from fossil fuels to renewable forms of energy, and in particular, away from gas-powered cars, become the center of the electric vehicle industry. So thoughts that come to mind there is, with the exception of when all your charging stations get hit because they're taking the copper wire from your charging stations, and you don't have the ability to charge your electric vehicle, and not everybody has a charger at home. How does that work? Here in Washington State, what did our governor do? Gave like a $200 or maybe it was a $600 credit. No, it was a $200 energy credit. It was just stupid. Then the $600 credit, some kind of credit, if you made 300% less than medium income here in Seattle, you get a $600 credit towards your new or whatever electric car. And I'm thinking, okay, if you are at 300% below median income in Seattle, you're making how much money? Not a lot. Not a lot. Are you considering actually buying a used car that is, run on batteries? No, you're not. You can't afford it. No matter what, you can't afford it. And just the setup to get going with an electric car, no, it's not happening. So this whole notion of we're going to give you a credit. So everybody, no matter what economic level you are, station in life you are, you're going to be able to get an electric car. That's just this terrible notion that this is happening. And it's just not. It is just not happening. And we see that in the sales of electric cars. They peaked out at 1% or 2% in the car market, something just crazy number. And now they're diving, and now they, can't give them away. I mean, Elon Musk is just bringing that price on down, right? Because all of a sudden you hit that equilibrium point, and then beyond that, folks are like, yeah, I don't think so. I tried the electric car thing, and they've got some things to work out there, so I'm not going to go down that route. But you see a lot of virtue signaling over the electric car. Oh, it's just so great. I see it as a huge pain in the ass because you can't really drive that far. And, I got to charge it up. Okay, that's what you want to do. I'm probably just going to stick with my lawnmower. I got to be honest. It's an Ego, E-G-O. Yeah, it's not Echo, but it's close. But it's green. It's very green. It's got a battery. That's all we seem to care about. So Chevron leaving the state. That's all you need to know. You know the rest. Rest is all just fill, right? Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.